Welcome to another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I'm so excited to have on a 29-year-old from Listowel, Ontario, Canada. His hockey journey has taken him to Canada, the USA, and the Shed's honey hole, Cardiff, Wales. Mucked around with the Wingham Ironmen before becoming a staple of the hometown Listowel Cyclones before they traded his ass to St. Mary's. Ran amok with St. Norbert College, where he's a two-time all-conference team member and an NCAA champion. Found a home with the Adirondack Thunder of the coast, playing 4 seasons and becoming one of the team captains, earning an AHL call-up, and is now in the hunt for some trophies with a bunch of Shed guys. Welcome to the Shed, Blake Thompson.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I get into how we know each other. I've never met you, and I had Franny on, and the research team got hot, and I saw a guy playing for my favorite team, the Cardiff Devils, was from Listowel, Ontario. You know?
It's a small world, isn't it?
It really is, especially when the research team gets hot.
Yeah, exactly.
When I saw a guy from Listowel on Cardiff, I wanted to get you in the Shed because I know the people of Listowel are fantastic folks. Everybody from around here is. And one thing I try to do with this Shed is promote people from small town, Western, Midwest Ontario, and the young bucks that are my kids' age, as well as a guy like you. I looked at your resume and you could have been one of those guys playing Midwest Junior B that just people don't know about, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm here to help everybody, folks.
That's perfect. Thank you.
So actually it was in your hometown yesterday. My son's under 11 team played in their new barn, and it's a sweet place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's definitely an upgrade from the old arena that they used to have. But
that's the one I played in.
Yeah, there's a lot of good memories at that arena. Obviously, playing my minor hockey there, and then.
So how old are you when they get the new one?
I think it's maybe 4 or 5 years old now, or maybe older.
So you never played in the new one?
Never got to play there. I've skated maybe a handful of times there, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah, so I'm the same in Elmira. I played in the old one. Now there's a new one, never really skated there. So I feel like there might be some similarities today here, but they have a mini little hockey rink upstairs, in the crowd, like in the corner of the arena, there's a little mini hockey, like a little rink for the kids.
Yeah, I did see that. I think that's kind of a cool idea. Gives the parents a little bit of a break and send the kids up there to play while the games are going on. So
absolutely. So you are in Cardiff, and research team gets hot. I looked you up. Did you know that your jersey is sponsored by the Red Dragon Group, who also sponsors the Shed?
Oh, really?
Yes, they sponsored my website. When you go to my website, folks, aleshockeytales.com, it says brought to you by the Red Dragon Group, right?
I didn't know that. What a coincidence.
I know. So thanks for sponsoring the Shed. I love when people support what I'm doing, and obviously they got good taste in men, right?
I hope so, at least.
So what are your first thoughts of Cardiff so far?
It's been great. It was a pretty easy transition here. The ownership group and everyone involved made it really easy to move in. I'm in a really nice apartment or flat here. So
where are you?
I couldn't. Victoria Wharf. So it's just right down the rink or the road from the arena.
Okay.
So I'm about 5 minutes from the bay and maybe 7 or 8 minutes from downtown driving. So it's nice and close.
Yeah, there's a lot to do around there. I love playing in Cardiff because of all the things you can do around there. I was right in the bay. I used to run amok around there.
Yeah, the bay it's a great spot. Lots of good restaurants and things like that to do there. So it's fun.
Good festivals too. Did you get to the one where you first fly over and the season's just starting and there's like a big festival down there?
No, I don't think so. I know they had like a parade kind of thing, like carnival rides and stuff like that.
This was one. Yeah, this was the one with like carnival rides, but they're selling like bratwursts and beers, the stuff I'm into, but the kids are into it too,
We actually went one night and we were going to go for dinner first and went for dinner. And then as we got to finishing dinner and going over to the carnival, it closed. And so we never actually ended up going, but it looked like a blast.
It was a blast, and there's so much fun things to do in Cardiff. That's why I like playing there so much. So, who's your D partner?
I'm with Marcus Crawford, another new guy on the team this year.
Another guy I don't know.
Yeah.
So, like, what kind of player is he? Is he offensive, defensive?
He's an offensive defenseman. Likes to join the rush. He's a good
You're the steady,
skater, and
stay-at-home guy that's bailing his ass out.
yeah, like to be there to help him out. I do find it sometimes that both of us are kind of looking at each other as we're skating up the ice to see who's going to join the play or who's not. So
Yeah.
I'm sure
The
that gives our coach a bit of a head scratch every once in a while.
That's fun though. So Richie's still playing too, eh? Your captain. I was talking
Yeah,
about this to someone, and they're like, "Do people still play in Cardiff that you played with?" And I was like, "There's still 7 or 8 of them. It's like 8 years ago I played there."
I know there's they got a really good alliance of older players. Richie, um,
The goat,
Batchy's there too,
Batchy,
and then
Joey
there's
Martin coming
also
back.
yeah, and Mark Lewis is still there. So there's a lot of returning guys that have been there for a long time that kind of set the
Set the tone.
example for how things are supposed to be done there.
You seen Mark Lewis beat anybody up yet this year?
He's only fought twice, and he fought the same guy twice and beat him up with like one punch both times. So,
Was he from
I
Manchester?
yes, yeah,
Because I had their coach on, and I said to him like the night or two before that, you guys played them, and I was like, "So if Mark Lewis is running amok with your team, like who's gonna step up? Who's gonna be the guy that's actually willing to do that?" And there actually is someone crazy enough to do that. So whoever you are, buddy, you're a shed guy. I'll have you on and talk to you. You know,
yeah. We all gave him full props for standing there and
good for
um,
him.
trying to trying to take down Mark. So yeah,
Yeah,
he's got full props from me.
yeah. I wouldn't want anything to do with that. Wouldn't even want to be near it. Have you seen the video of when he punched the guy like when he wasn't playing for Cardiff during all the baloney? When
Yeah,
that was
when he was
scary.
in Slovakia there, that was
That guy wasn't
one
ready.
of the hardest punches.
Yeah, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
No, he wasn't.
Okay. So where and what are you doing now? I guess we covered that. You're in Cardiff.
Yeah, so in
Got a
Cardiff,
roommate?
I don't have a roommate, just living with my girlfriend. She was fortunate enough to have a remote job to begin with before this became a plan. And then talking to her company, they have an office in Oxford over here. So she was able to just transfer over to their office, and she just has to work her US hours. So she's working 2 till 10:30 at night, which
Hey,
isn't ideal, but
but
she's
at
not
least she
really a
gets to
morning
be there
person
with you.
anyways.
You know, there a lot of things have changed in the world, and the realization people can work remotely and make their lives work is quite appealing for everybody. It's like me with the shed, and my job is like I know I can work later or earlier or do whatever I got to do to get my job done if I can
Yeah,
just please log off for lunch and talk to some shed guys, you know?
yeah, exactly. It's really nice.
Yeah, so that's good for her. Good for you guys that you get to have her there. So she's there for the season then?
Yep, she's here for the season. She got here maybe a month after I did. It's kind of nice that I was able to come and spend that quality time with some of the guys and get to know them without her
Before all the
here. And
gal.
then
Yeah, you don't want her to hear that, but it's true. When the
yeah,
gals don't come for a few weeks and the boys get to really become a team off the hop, it's important.
yeah, it is. And it was nice to even just, learn where you're going and some good spots to go for food and groceries and little things like that. So it was
So
nice.
what's your favorite restaurant so far? Where's your honey hole?
Probably the Alchemist downtown.
I think that's came
Um,
up before, but I don't even know what that is.
yeah, it's a nice restaurant. I really haven't gone out too often,
Do you know
but
what Chippy Lane is?
I do know what Chippy Lane is. Yeah, yeah,
Have you been there? Have you ordered anything?
yeah. I've been there a couple times. Usually,
You're
fellas guy.
you're what?
We usually go into fellas.
Fellas?
It,
What's that?
yeah, it's a new spot, I guess, and it's kind of like I guess I'd say kind of like a Turkish shawarma kind of deal.
Yeah,
And
like
you can get a
kebabs and whatnot.
yeah kebabs. So you get a nice little wrap at the end of the night, and
Do you know when I moved to Germany, I didn't know anything about kebabs, like donors, yufkas, whatever you want to call them in Germany. I moved over to
yeah,
Germany from Elmira, Ontario, and I'd been to Kalamazoo for a few years. I didn't know what they were, and I was scared to try them for like 6 months. And then when I finally did, life changed.
yeah, they're
God,
amazing. So
I know.
no complaints there.
But you know what? Chippy Lane doesn't have high end kebabs. Maybe this new place does. I don't know. you know?
I mean, it's good enough usually at the time we're going. So
I understand.
yeah.
So let's see here. Today's Halloween. Kids are going to run amok tonight. Is there a team Halloween party? Because I also think those are important. It's before the season gets really serious, and it's still an important time to become a team.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, our schedule has been really hectic right now, and so we haven't had a time to really do it until I think like November 8th or 9th. And at that point, we're
Going to do it.
it's a little bit too past
No, it's not.
the Halloween phase. So we're gonna
Do
maybe
it.
do American Thanksgiving, do it as a team and get everybody together and bond that way.
Okay. Well, no, those are good too. The Thanksgivings, we used to do that, but I think every time you get everybody together away off the clock, those are important nights for everybody when the wives all get to know each other, and you become a family.
Yeah, it's really important. Yeah, just like I said, unfortunately, we've had a lot of games. I think we play 9 games in 16 days here. So
Ugh, that's disgusting.
um, it's just a lot of hockey, and you don't want to be
Is anybody
putting
doing the
yourself.
NBA this year?
There's 3 guys doing it on our team this year. So
Who's that?
um, Jake Kugler,
I hear he's a
Trevor.
player.
Yeah, he's really good. Trevor Cox and Ryan Penny.
Okay. Well, good for them. They'll be busy boys.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of extra work.
Yes, it is busy days. So growing up in Listowel, how'd you get into hockey? Everybody
Just
plays
like every
hockey in
other,
Listowel. Yeah.
yeah, just like every other kid. My dad played, so I think it was just something that you send your
So
kid
your
out
dad
to.
played? Like what did he play
Uh,
growing up? Make
he
some
played
junior?
to like bantam or midget hockey, and he was done. But
Yeah.
he always loved the game and liked it. He was just too small and never really saw much of a future playing. So
Yeah.
that
Okay.
was kind of how I got started into it.
But you never did go AAA from Listowel. You
I
stayed
played
hometown
uh I played 2 years of AAA, like Pee Wee or something like that.
because you did
Um,
play at home under 18 with the Cyclones, and one of your teammates, the research team saw was Corey Connors, the golfer.
yes, yeah. So played with him, and I also played a little bit of golf growing up as well, and so we were in a lot of similar tournaments and stuff
Are
like
you a
that. So
good
it was,
golfer?
not anymore. I
Me
used to
neither.
be able to get around okay, and kind of just lost the passion to play and go out and practice. So,
I do
but I
know.
do enjoy going out with friends and
Yeah.
kicking it around and playing 9 or 18 holes.
Well, that guy's doing pretty well for himself, eh?
Yes, he is. He's making quite a name for himself.
It's pretty interesting when a Canadian from Listowel can make it that big in golf when their golf season is so much shorter than other folks that have year round.
Yeah, exactly. You basically have 5 months, if you're lucky, 6 months of good
Yeah.
enough weather to get out there and practice. So,
So here's a small world thing for you. I'm in Kincardine. My
yep.
sister has a cottage down the road with my parents, and their backyard neighbor is, I guess, Corey Connor's in-laws or something. So there you go.
Um,
From Listowel.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of Listowel families that have
The Nichols.
cabins or cottages, exactly. The Nichols, Kisos are up there, I believe, as well. So
There are
there's
some
a
famous
lot of
folks
families.
from Listowel, eh? The Kisos is the letter Kenny fella, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah. So
I reached out to him to
um
try and get him in the shed early on.
yeah.
I think I made
No,
him
yeah,
nervous.
he's a great guy. I actually grew up literally kitty corner to him.
Is that
So
right?
I was playing road hockey with them, and his youngest sister used to babysit me when I was growing up. So
I guess
it
I
was a
played
small
junior B
world.
against him. I didn't realize that till I was asking around, but he played junior B against me when I was in Elmira. And
Yeah.
so he started out making that Letter Kenny show. I got a buddy from my hometown. He's actually from St. Clements, but went to Elmira High School with me. Brad Dietrich. He's got a YouTube thing that's getting big here called Ask Tunny, where they're having a couple beers on Sundays and they dress up like Mennonites and they're doing a YouTube show called Ask Tunny. And the folks are
Yeah.
loving it. I don't know if the Mennonites in the area are loving it, but the rest of the
Yeah.
folks are.
I'll have to take a look at that. I'm sure it'll be pretty funny to watch.
It was. I just saw him at a Halloween party on Friday. The whole entourage from the show Ask Tutty came in. My first thought was, I have to get these guys in the shed. God.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, so you go from the under 18 with Corey Connors to the Junior C Wingham Ironmen, eh?
Yeah.
How old are you at
That
that
was it.
point?
I think I was 17. I think
Bit of a
that was
late
the year
bloomer
that,
you are, eh?
yeah, it was a year that Listowel, I went to their camp, had a good camp, but they had a lot of returning guys and some guys that, went to school in Waterloo or something like that. They wanted to play for Listowel. So kind of saw myself as a seventh defenseman. I didn't really want to
And is it
sit
not
out the
better to
lineup.
get ice time and play more and be the guy? I have
Yeah,
this argument with people all the time. It's like when they watch their kids and rep and stuff around here, and all the parents are so nervous about every tryout and making the team. It's like, well, if they don't make the team, they'll get to be the guy on the team below and have way more ice time, right?
yeah, exactly. It was one of those scenarios, just like you said, that I was gonna, be in and out of the lineup the entire season, or I can go down to Wingham and play,
And at that
you
age,
know,
you got to play.
yeah, play 35 games, and you're still playing against good guys. Some guys just
Your
don't
goalie
want to
was
do it
good.
anymore.
Your
And
goalie was good.
yeah,
I watched him play on Saturday night here in Kincard, and Jason Hamilton, Hammy.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
He plays for the
Um,
Ripley Wolves now.
oh, does he?
Yeah, I played with him with the Wolves for a bit. Yeah, good dude.
Yeah, there was a lot of good guys in that group, so it was good. It was a lot of fun that year.
You know, all the small towns around here, there's a lot of good dudes. When the Wolves, all the senior A loop around here, then you get the junior C fellas, the junior B guys, like everybody's good dudes. And that's why I wanted to have you on the shed when I found out you're from Listowel, you know? So,
Yeah, it's the nice part about a small town is you kind of know everybody from the other small town too, and you compete against them growing up, and now there's opportunities in the senior A leagues where you can
well,
kind of
the
join up
other
and
part
have.
I think though is when you grow up in a small town like we do, you're held accountable. If you're a douchebag, if you're not a good person, you're found out pretty quickly. You grow up in cities, you can kind of do what you want and nobody really knows what you're really like, right? Small
Yeah,
towns, you're held accountable and you got to learn how to be a good person.
yeah, exactly. It's like we said, we're growing up in towns of 5,000 people, so it's the cliche that everybody knows everybody kind of thing.
It's true though. Kincardine around here, Ripley. Yep. Okay. Another guy on that team was Brett Nickel. Is his
Yeah,
brother's then? Is his brother Blake
yeah, brothers Blake. Then there's
and
Ted
Ted?
and
Yeah.
also Mac as well.
Okay. Yeah. Because I played with Blake on the Wolves.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they Brett actually was my chauffeur that year because I didn't have my license yet. So he was driving me to all the practices and games. So it's kind of funny.
I'm pretty sure he's a shed enthusiast.
Is he?
I'm pretty sure. Yep. Pretty sure he follows. Yep. Okay. So then the next year, though, after you do play a ton, and was your team good in Wingham?
I don't really remember. I would
So
say
you
probably
weren't. Yeah.
middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack
But
if you don't remember. That means you
yeah,
weren't that
I
good.
would assume that.
So then you do make the hometown Cyclones the next year, and you're in the old barn.
Yeah, we were in the old barn. So that year was a good year. We had a run to the Cherry Cup finals and lost to eventually Elmira. So
You lost to Elmira in the Cherry Cup final. So was Ethan Skinner on Elmira then?
I couldn't tell you.
You don't know, eh? Brett Cato
No.
was on your team though. He was coaching the Wolves the other night.
Yeah, so Brett was on our team. We had Mac Nickel, Anthony Peters.
He's a
He
goalie in
was playing on our
Slovakia right
team.
now, eh?
Yeah, so he was with us at the time. So we had a really good group, and
Another goalie on your team then is Gatlin Burt that I played with.
yeah, yeah, he was.
Wild man on the ice.
Yeah, he was. Had a bit of a reputation as the bad boy on the ice. So
Oh, yeah. I played against him in senior and it was wild. The guys were like, literally, Wally, like, don't go within 5 feet of him. He was playing for Durham. They're like, don't go within 5 feet of him. He'll slash you in the face. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why would that guy slash in the face? I don't even know him. And then I saw him like two-hand Muirsy, like full two-hand over the head as hard as he could, right in the ankle. And I was like, okay, I'm not going near him. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
Then he ended up playing with us for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Me and him hit it off. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, you guys were good though. So how many games did you lose to Elmira in? Do you know?
I think it was 6 games.
Yeah. Tough
We
losing, eh?
Yeah, it was tough, but it was again really cool growing up. I remember watching the Cherry Cup finals and the Sutherland Cup runs. So to be on the ice and seeing how packed the packed the arena was and all the fans that were getting there early and stuff like that kind of reminded you of the days when you were watching as well.
It is cool. I remember the days in Elmira where you show up and like, well, the Elmira people were playing dirty pool. They were putting out blankets all over the arena. So when people would
Yeah.
show up, there'd be blankets everywhere. Nobody could even sit down because all the blankets were there. You
Yeah, I
know?
remember my mom would drive me to the arena and then she would drop us off and then take a blanket in and tape it up and make sure that her spot was ready for the game. So
Well, actually, the Cyclones, the junior B team, was playing before my son's game yesterday. And the Blue Line Club was open. I watched the third period, and then all the fellas came up after the game dressed for Halloween. They were having fun. They were doing it right.
yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you lose that year. What else do I got? The next year you're back there and you played with a shed guy that I had on, him and his old man, Ron, Dylan Sale.
Yeah.
Is
He
that when he
was
hits the guy from behind and then gets traded?
I don't think so. I think that was after I left. But he was a young, I think maybe 17-year-old guy when I was there and I only played I think till Christmas. And then I got traded to St. Mary's after that.
It was that because your team wasn't on a playoff run and they knew your time was coming to an end, or why do you get traded from your hometown team?
Yeah, we weren't very good obviously that year and I just kind of felt like it was pretty stagnant doing the same thing over and over with Listowel. And so had a few buddies on St. Mary's that I played AAA with in the past and was in talks with them. And I never really asked for a trade. And I guess they ended up telling their GM, and then he contacted Listowel. And I got a call the next day from our coach and GM, and he just said, "Would you like to be traded?" And we have something worked out in St. Mary's. And I said, "Yeah, that sounds good."
So they did leave it kind of up to you, but it'd be kind of hard to say no. I want to stay here when you're asking me to trade.
Yeah, it was, and like I think I played the All-Star game the night before, and Brett Cato got traded after the game to Elmira. And then I was like, we really don't have many players
Much
left, and you
left.
can kind of
Yeah.
see the writing on the wall. So it was like, I might as well
Being on
try and
bad
make
teams doesn't get you anywhere, right? Like
no, exactly.
that's like I was lucky when I was in Elmira. We had a core of local fellows that were all good, and we had good teams. If you're not good at junior, like as a team, it's hard to get noticed as an individual, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, a lot of the times you know, obviously the GOJHL has got a little bit more recognized in recent years, but back when we were playing, they weren't coming to watch a game, the scouts, unless it was the Cherry Cup or Sutherland Cup, or maybe even not even then. They'll just take
And it's weird because when I
a
played, they
flyer.
were coming. Like they were coming. We had schools like the year I left. So within 2 years, my 2 years in Elmira, I think we had 8 scholarships on our team.
Did you? Yeah, that's really good.
That doesn't happen anymore, eh?
No, that's really good.
No.
Um,
I wish that the kids around here would get scholarships, but from what I understand is it's more like a feeder league now because they can just leave without a release, where back in the day you'd have to get released. But anywho, doesn't matter, right?
yeah, I mean, I think that the school option is definitely the smartest choice to make, even whether you're trying to pursue your hockey career or even just pursuing your post-secondary. I think it's a no-brainer.
Well, there's a lot of life after hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
You start to realize when it's over. So you go to St. Mary's. You guys played 12 playoff games that year, so you were pretty good.
Yeah, we were all right.
Are you living at home
went,
and driving there? How far is that?
Yeah, I was. We were about an hour away, and so it didn't make sense to be a billet when you're only an hour away, and there was only, I don't even remember what time the junior B season ends in the year, but My parents, they would kind of drive me there, then they go for dinner before the game, and um,
Yeah,
it was just kind of a family affair. So it was kind of nice at the time.
that is. So then how do you go from there to the Victoria Grizzlies? You move out west, and that's what seems to be a bit of a trend for the fellows around here nowadays, eh?
Yeah, that's kind of the hotbed out there. So I think it was about a year or so before there was some trendsetters from St. Mary or Stratford and Elmira that did it. And I was
Yeah.
kind of watching, and they had received scholarships to Ohio State and Minnesota State. And I was like, oh geez, like those are some big schools. And so I remember just talking to our GM at the end of the season. He's like, what are your plans? And I said I wanted to try and play out there. And I basically took it upon myself and started calling the general managers out there and seeing if I can get a tryout.
So
And
you
a lot
did
of
that
teams,
on your own?
yeah. And a lot of teams, they, being a 20-year-old heading out there, they're a little hesitant on giving you a tryout. So Victoria had a bad year before, and they were willing to take a flyer. And so I went out there and made the team and never looked back. It was a really good opportunity, and we ended up having a really good team. We
Victoria's pretty nice too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely the best spot to play in that league, I would think. Obviously, Penticton's got its perks of the arena and the way you're treated there, but I think the overall city life and playing for the Victoria Grizzlies was one of the best things I could have done.
So you did have a great year there. 26 points, 47 games played, and you get recruited to St. Norbert. So were you already done high school, then moving out there? You're already done, and you're just trying to get a scholarship, right?
Yeah, I was done high school. I was trying to get a scholarship. Had a few clearinghouse issues, but so I ended up having to go the alternative route to Division 3. And at the time,
Clearinghouse issues. What'd you do
yeah,
wrong?
oh no, it was just the grades weren't where they needed to be. So,
Right.
anyways, it's one of those things that it's a life lesson, and unfortunately, there's some hard ways to learn those life lessons.
Yeah.
But at the
It is
time,
hard
St.
when
Norm,
you're a young buck and you're in school to really realize that you should try hard, right? I had a hard time with it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't really think about it. It's not at the forefront of your
Hockey guys can
everyday
have a
thing.
problem with that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, St. Norbert at the time, they were the best Division 3 team in the country year after year, and so was fortunate enough to get a spot out there, and then we ended up winning my first year of being there. So that was
So
really really cool.
you won the national championship for Division 3?
Yeah, won that my freshman year, and then sophomore year we didn't make the tournament, the Frozen Four, and then my junior year we lost in the finals, and then my senior year we lost in the quarterfinals of the Frozen Four. So
So you
it was
guys
a
were pretty
successful.
good the whole time then.
Yeah, the my first year, the senior class that graduated, they had won 3 or 4 national championships. So
Jeepers.
they had quite a run there.
So as a freshman in university in the USA, you usually have to be 21 to drink. When you
Yeah.
win the national championship, did you guys run amok?
Yeah, well, I actually turned 21 in November that year. So when it came to March, I
You're
was
good to
already
go.
21. But yeah, we actually won in Lewiston, Maine. So wasn't very exciting out there, but we sure
Had
had some
fun
fun that
together.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to. That was your first championship then, right?
Yep, that was my first one. So
It
it was a
must be
great
fun to
year.
be good in college. Our teams were never really good, and it was still a lot of fun. So, how big
Yeah,
St. Norbert? Is there a lot of students, and where is that?
it's in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So it's a student population of about 2,200. So basically it's a big high school,
Yeah.
and everybody knows everybody. So obviously if the hockey team's good, again, everyone knows that you play hockey and
Yeah.
knows how the weekend went. So it was a good spot.
What'd you take at school there?
Business administration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
So the standard, I think.
But you were, when your team's that good, there's going to be some other good players. You were a 2-time all conference team member too, eh?
Yeah, actually, I was I sorry, freshman year to junior year, I was all conference and didn't get it my senior year, unfortunately.
No, well, it's pretty cool because it is only it's 3 forwards and 2 defense and a goalie, right? That's it per
Yeah,
each team. That's pretty tough to make.
yeah,
So well
so
done.
that was
Are
awesome.
are there scouts in D3 when you're going to national championship games in the Final Four almost every year? Are there people there watching?
Um, I would say maybe a handful.
It's
Maybe
limited,
even maybe even watching from a distance as well. Um, I just think that now that Division 3 is a little bit more of it's on the roadmap, I would say.
right?
There might be more scouts, but at the time, I think there was my freshman year, we had one player that the Portland Pirates wanted him to stay because they were playing Lewiston at the time. And so I guess maybe they were just because it was so local that they went and watched the game. But
Well, that's cool.
I have heard of a few, guys that have signed, good American League deals coming out of Division 3. So that's a great honor and puts a good roadmap for Division 3 players.
One guy I had on that was a Division 3 player that had a hell of a career was Derek Hahn. He would have been one of those trendsetters that makes people realize that there's some players in D3. He ended up playing forever in the DL after doing the Central League for a while. But yeah, he was a great player. That he was a guy from Elmira that played for the Sure Kings that maybe doesn't get whatever it is. What's the word? There's not many people that know about the players around here, right? You're not going to all the
Yeah,
big tournaments. You're not getting your name out there, and then it can take a while for people to find you, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean, I know in the BCHL they have the showcase tournament, so that was our first weekend of the season, and
Just scouts from
there was
everywhere.
there's every big name school, and there's NHL scouts there every game. So that was the first time when you're realizing where you are and the opportunity that you have in front of you.
Yeah, there are some people watching that league, the BCHL.
Yeah.
So, pro options, your senior year, after you guys go to the Frozen Four, then you do play 2 games for the Orlando Solar Bears in the Coast.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough that I had a teammate from my freshman year when we won. He was doing really well in Orlando, and he asked me if there was any interest in me going down to play, and I said, yeah, of course. And so
And that's how
he kind
hockey
of,
works, right? Is having a buddy that recommends you, and then all of a sudden you get the opportunity, right?
yeah, exactly. And so he kind of word him out to the coach down there, and a couple days later, I was on a flight down to Orlando and played a couple games. It was nothing crazy. It's the end of the year there, so it's a little bit different hockey.
Were they
They
good?
were
Were they
already,
making playoffs or anything?
yeah, I think the whole conference had already been established of 1 through 4, and so you know what it's like at that time. There's not a whole lot of energy in those games, and
They
everyone
and they
just kind of,
they brings the college guys come from everywhere, man. When in the coast and those leagues, when the college season ends, my goodness, if you're a veteran player, you're played for a few years, and then all those young punks start showing up, it could make you pretty nervous, right?
yeah, especially your first year in the league when there's new college kids. It's that time of the year, and now you're trying to hold on to your job as long as you can and make that playoff roster.
Yeah, North America's nuts. So after that, then you graduate university. Do you head back to Listowel, Ontario for the summers?
No, I rarely returned to Listowel after going to Victoria for that year. I would spend all my summers out in Victoria,
Is that right? How do your
and
parents feel about that?
uh, they don't mind.
Sure they
They
don't.
know how, yeah, they know how nice it is out there, and the
Is
opportunity
is
that I
that
had.
where your gal's from?
No, she's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so it's about 2 hours south of Green Bay.
Okay.
So we met just through mutual friends at school, and um, been fortunate enough to have her along for the ride the last couple of years. So it's
But
been
you
good.
guys go out to Victoria for the summers.
Last few years, last year we were in Milwaukee, and the year before that we were down in Fort Myers, Florida, at my parents'
Oh,
place.
you've been to the
So
Lonnie Kai.
Yeah, I've been to Lanikai. Yeah, it doesn't look the same anymore, unfortunately.
No, I know. I've seen some of the videos and stuff that they put up since the hurricane there, and very sad. So I won the North American Roller Hockey Championship there, and we partied like we won the Stanley Cup, and it was a great time, and I'll never forget it. Then I was also there while I was a East Coast player for the Daytona Beach Bombers of Ohio.
Yeah,
So yeah, no, I've been there numerous times, and it is a fantastic spot. Lots of fun to be had there, you know.
yeah, of course. It's
So
hard to beat
you
the
were
beach.
summering around there.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. We were just fortunate enough that parents had a place, so we ended up just using that as the summertime location,
It's
and
not a bad setup.
obviously, yeah, obviously just kind of flying back and stuff for a few weddings and things like that. So it was good.
Okay. So rookie year then. After your 2 games in Orlando, whatever happens there, you head home for the summer. Do you start that season with the Evansville Thunderbolts of the Southern Pro Hockey League?
I went to camp with the Fort Wayne Comets
Okay.
and signed a contract with them going
Thinking
into
you're gonna
camp.
play there, and then you show up and there's
Yeah,
like 50 guys there.
yeah, I had little to no idea if that's how it actually works. So
Yeah.
I went there and I actually played pretty well, I thought. But
But it
you look
doesn't
at the
actually matter.
roster,
Yeah.
yeah, you look at the roster and you're like, okay, well, you're not going to replace, there's 3 American League guys down here and an NHL deal. So
And then all of a
there's four
sudden, like the
spots.
NHL camps are happening, and then all of a sudden they send down 4 NHL contract kids, and it's
Yeah,
like, well, they're in the system; they have to play
yeah,
them.
exactly.
Yeah,
So that was a tough kind of wake up call, but
a lot of people
the
get it.
agent,
Yeah,
yeah, the agent that I had at the time, he um referred me to Evansville, which the coach was Jeff Pyle. I don't know if you know the name.
I have heard that name
Yeah, so he's
numerous
coached.
times. I talk
Yeah,
to
he's
too many
coached.
people to keep track of everything now, though.
So he's coached in Atlanta for a number of years,
That's where
and
Derek Nesbitt.
yeah, yeah. So he was there, and he's a fantastic guy, and so he was the one that kind of persuaded me to go to the SB. I was going to kind of wait it out and see if there was any possibility of sneaking onto an ECHL roster, but he's like, just come play with me. You'll get to play for. You'll probably be here for a week or two, or maybe 3, and then you'll get called up, and that was the case, and I was fortunate enough to go to Cincinnati, play I think 10 or 11 games there, and then I ended up getting traded to Adirondack, who was very very injured at the time and was able to jump right in and play a lot of minutes.
And
And
that's all it takes is getting an opportunity, right? And then you
yeah,
get the
finally got an
opportunity and you run with
opportunity.
it, and then you're with them
Yeah,
for 4 seasons.
yeah, exactly. And that year we made a really good run to the playoffs. We made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, lost to Florida. So it was a no brainer to go back, knowing that the coach knew who you were, and at least you had your foot in the door, rather than going to another spot and trying to earn that trust or opportunity again.
Once you've battled through a season with a coach and you've gone through some playoff games with a coach, having that trust factor, as I talk around more in my shed, it makes me realize how important that is to coaches, right? Knowing
Yeah,
who
it
they're
is.
getting.
Yep. And fortunate enough that he was there for a few years. We had a good relationship, and we just kind of kept re-upping every year. And
Yeah,
last year we didn't have a very good year, so I thought it was time to
move
to
on.
explore the European options. So
Well, so year one, you guys played 10 playoff games. So is that the second round then?
I only played 10. I think they played 17 or something like that.
Okay, and that's your first
Um,
year. That's your rookie year.
yeah. I started the playoffs playing well, and the American League season was still going.
Then
And
all the
then
AHL guys came down.
yeah, and so then I was playing really well. I was on the power play and stuff, but he's like, I have to take you out of the lineup, unfortunately. And so
Yep.
I missed probably 5 games, 6 games, and then there was a couple injuries. And next thing you know, we only had 5D for the rest of the playoffs, and you're
You're
back
playing.
to being on a power play, and things are going again. So it's crazy how that works.
Can I ask my dumb question of the day?
What's that?
Where's Adirondack?
It's in Glens Falls, New York, which is just located north of Saratoga Springs, New York,
Okay.
which is just north of Albany.
Okay. So not far from Syracuse, where, right?
No,
Whatnot. Little
it's
bit,
about
few hours.
yeah, it's about 2 hours, 3 hours from Syracuse, and then about an hour and 15 from Utica. So it's a really nice spot to be in hopes of a call up because all those teams are so close that
Right.
if they did need a guy for 1 day or 2 days, you could
You're right
drive there
there.
and play
Yeah.
your game
And that
quick.
is
So
important in the East Coast is being like geographically close to the teams, right?
yeah, you don't realize that of how important that is.
No. And yeah, the older you get, the more you think about it. It's like, well, think about how much cheaper it is just to drive somewhere instead of like fly from places, right? And all that stuff. And
Yeah,
it's like some of these East Coast teams and AHL teams, they don't want to spend more, right? So yeah.
no,
Year two, though, you are officially established in the East Coast with Adirondack. 21 points that season as a D-man, eh?
yeah, that was that was a good year. We had a pretty solid returning group, and we just kind of fed off the success from the year before, and got to play a little bit more. Unfortunately, the power play time wasn't really there, but it was something that you got to do when there was injuries, which in the
Yeah,
ECHL there's injuries all year. So
it sure is.
um, it
Yeah.
just depends on if you're playing one game or you're playing 3 games in the power play kind of thing.
The
So
research team that year saw you guys had 8 goalies play games, 13 on the roster.
yeah, I mean
13 goalies on your roster that year.
I wish I could remember all of them, but
I know.
it's one of those years that it's kind of a revolving door.
In the East Coast, in North American pro hockey, being from Listowel and being from Elmira, it was the exact opposite of how I was raised of what hockey is and what it's about. It was so individualized. It was so about each individual than about the betterment of the team and putting the team first and being a team. And I hated it.
Yeah, it's kind of you know, you're putting your career on the line, and as long as you had 2 or 3 points or you were playing well, it didn't really matter how well the team success was.
Well, in the AHL, man, like
Oh,
I'd see
that's
it. I'd
another.
be a healthy scratch in the crowd, and I'd watch, and then I'd see us lose like 5-3. And the guys that had a few points are literally in a good mood after. And I'm like, you guys are punks.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a crazy dynamic to the whole thing.
It really is. It must be different. Like, I don't know what it's like in Adirondack. You were there 4 years, probably a good culture, but it has to be a bit different when you get to Cardiff and everybody's signed for the year. There's nobody going up. There's nobody really going down. You might have a couple call-ups if you really need them, but the team is the team all day, every
Yeah,
day.
that's kind of been the interesting part is that you know, you have to put so much pressure on keeping your body in good shape because there's nobody there's nobody to call up
Mm-hmm.
really. So every game, sometimes guys not feeling well and you got to play with 5D and 11 forwards or 10 forwards and 4D. It's kind of crazy that you're in October and you're playing with a short lineup. Usually that happens in the coast in January, February when you got eight or nine forwards and 4D and you're just hoping that a goalie will show up to the game.
Yeah, some of the goaltending personnel changes in the coast was. I remember going to games and we're like, we don't have a goalie. Like the AHL's called up both of our goalies, and then we get an emergency goalie from somewhere. I think it was the Southern Pro League, and then he
Yeah.
shows up and plays 15 games for us and runs amok. He does awesome. And then after those 15 games, when the AHL guys come back, smell you later, buddy. Thanks for
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah. It's super cutthroat in the North American game.
It is. It is. But you know what? Europe ain't any easier. It is just as cutthroat. It's just they wait till the end of the season to make their changes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
um,
Exactly.
that's pro hockey though. If it can be stressful and or you can make it fun, right?
Yep, exactly. It's all about the group of guys that you have too. If you have a good group of guys,
That's what it's all
you
about.
know, it makes it a lot easier to go to the rink every day.
Sure does. What was travel like in the coast for you from there in Adirondack? Were you
Um,
in a sleeper most of the time, or you flying places?
no, we didn't even have a sleeper bus, unfortunately. So we were, sprawled out on the floor a few times.
So you're doing
But the travel,
one guy on the floor, one guy across the top type deal?
yeah, kind of thing like that. So, but the travel the first year was rough because we played Brampton.
Oh.
And usually they would always play Sunday afternoons at 2 o'clock at home. And the scheduling in the ECHL was a nightmare. So we would play Saturday in Adirondack and then Sunday in Brampton.
Oh.
And so
I
it made
remember
no
some of
sense.
those weekends, man. And it was, I
Yeah.
only did it for a year. And I was like, I actually came to the realization after playing 102 games that year that I couldn't last many more seasons in doing
Yeah,
this.
it's crazy. And then later on we were flying a little bit more. We had St. John's come into the league up in Newfoundland, so we were flying up there and he'd spend a week up there. So
That must have been
it
fun
became a
for
little,
the boys.
yeah, that place is pretty special. Never even thought or knew anything really about St. John's growing up, and then you get dropped down there, and it was actually one of the coolest cities, and pretty special
And
place.
all the folks I've talked to or met from that area, man, they're all great too. um,
There's not one bad person that you meet out there. They're all super friendly, and
yeah, just happy
you
to be
know,
alive, right? Having a
yeah,
good
that's
day for
truly.
living. Yeah.
Yep, every day is they're waking up with a smile on their face, and there's no complaints.
Nothing wrong with that, folks. I
No.
like your attitudes. So who was your coach? Did you have a bunch of them through your 4 years there?
My first year we had Brad Tapper.
Brad
He,
Tapper, left-handed shot. Why do I know who that
yeah.
is? Anyways,
So he was a great coach. Again, he was always about there's two things that you can control, and that's your effort and your attitude. And
mhm.
he preached that all year, and we just kind of rolled with it and had a great season. And then after that, Alex Lowe, he was the assistant coach my first year. He took over the reins, and he was there the rest of my time. So
Really interested to look up Brad Tapper someday because I feel like I know who that is, but I'm
yeah,
not
he
sure.
played in the NHL for Atlanta a little bit. I think he was actually close friends with Dan Snyder, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, from Elmira, Ontario. Yeah. Um, okay. Anyway, I don't know where I've heard that name, but I know I have. So after though your year three, okay, all the baloney starts in the world, and you
Yeah,
do take a year off, right? So for
yeah, I
me,
do.
I always thought of it. I have a good job now. I'm happy. Um, and I was thinking for some of the guys that would say be in their 30s or late 30s, and some of them are back playing, some of them retired because of all the baloney. Um, that must have been a very, very trying year. What did you do that year?
Yeah, it was just weird. Adirondack, they were supposed to play. We were just supposed to be a delayed start. Um, and so we were supposed to play in January. So um,
And then you didn't.
then you didn't. We literally had a Zoom call as a team, and he was just like, we're not playing this year. There's no possibility of us doing it.
So
So
this
you
is
guys
a
can
real
go.
question then. So you didn't get paid that year because you didn't play
No,
hockey.
no. So he said that you can go play anywhere else.
Yeah.
Your rights are now you're a free agent. You can go anywhere you want. But at that time, like because it kept getting delayed, like from December to January, you like didn't really know when to skate. And then I was back in Ontario, living at my parents' place, so there was nothing open in Ontario. You couldn't even go to the arena at that time. I don't think so.
Pretty wild
I didn't
times.
want to just drive down to Orlando or something like that and try and make a roster after not skating for 3 months or something like that. So my girlfriend actually moved up to Ontario. My parents, they went down to their place in Florida, and we stayed the winter in Ontario, and did a lot of nothing like the rest of the
Wild.
population in Ontario at the time. So
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. It must have been a bit of a mental pretzel for you though, eh?
yeah, there was like, are you done? You're looking at jobs, but you're like, oh, I don't really know if I want to be
because
calling it a career.
right, because you don't have it out of your system, and you're still good enough to play, and you want to play.
Yeah, and I thought the year before COVID, I actually had a pretty good season, and I thought I was kind of knocking on the door for an American League call up, and so I thought it
Yeah.
was just going to be a hard time to walk away from it. So,
Well, actually, the research team looks at a lot of stuff, and I think you're still getting better. You're one of those guys that's still on the rise. There's guys that were awesome when they're 18, 19. And then when you see them when they're 23 to 25, they're really not that good anymore. And you see it all the time. And then you see guys that are late bloomers and then just keep getting better and better. The research team's looking at it. You're a late bloomer. You're still getting better, but
yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the simplicity of how I'm trying to play.
you're making it
You know,
easier on your self or what? You're not
yeah,
trying to do
I
too
think I'm
much?
just making it a little bit easier on myself. I think when I was maybe 24, 25,
Try to
first
do
year
too
pro,
much.
trying to do too much because you do realize that a lot of it is about points, and
Mhm.
um, you're trying to make that extra play to get the open door or something like that. But when you think less about points, that's honestly when they start happening. I know it's cliche, but it
But
is true.
it is true. It's when you're just having fun and enjoying the sport is when you run amok.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
You should see it on under 11 with the little fellows around here. It's like you can see a team that's unreal. They're all passing it around to each other. And then as soon as they start losing, they all try and do it themselves. And
Yeah.
that's what happens when you're not having success or whatever. You try and do too much. You try and, but
Yeah. And I think that's part of hockey now too is we put so much pressure on points, and that's the only way that you can be kind of seen to go to the next level. But unfortunately, the easiest way is to just do the little things right all the time. And when you do get that opportunity to go to a junior A camp or a junior B, the people there will see that, and you'll have your opportunity.
well, and the people talk, right? I didn't like there's so much talking that goes on around the hockey world behind the scenes of the coaches and the GMs all talking to each other. Every guy, like I'm getting messages now from NCAA coaches. I'm getting messages from junior coaches about kids around here. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't even know who these kids are, but it literally takes me 3 text messages and I got a full player review off of people I trust and I trust their opinion. And I have no problem passing that on to the NCAA. And it warms my heart that I can help kids around here now, you know?
Yeah, I think that's something that I would be interested in doing at some point would be maybe not coaching and being a full-time coach, but helping out with some minor hockey things and just giving a kid that maybe isn't the all-star of the team a little bit of support because you know, as bad as it is to say, a lot of those guys that are all-stars when they're younger, they phase out.
They
And
fizzle out. Yeah.
those ones that are behind the scenes are the ones that kind of take off and had the most opportunity.
I think you're talking about yourself.
I don't know.
Uh,
I just feel like that's the way it is with a lot of it. I think when they're younger, they get so much pressure on them, right?
well, and
The
it's
scouts.
interesting for me, right? We went and played Listowel,
Yeah,
under 11 team. I think they shouldn't be that bad. There's some athletes around there. There's some farm boys, whatnot, and they
yeah,
were brutal, awful.
right.
And I'm thinking that these kids are already leaving for AAA at that
Yeah,
age, that if anybody's got any skill, they think they have to be in AAA. And it's like, well, it's the same talk of like, isn't it a little bit more fun to be the guy? Isn't it a little bit more fun to handle the puck more? And for
yeah,
me, it's that I don't want my kid going to AAA yet because I want him to have that base of playing with his friends from his hometown that they will remember forever and have these life experiences, you know?
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think AAA at those early ages is a lot of hype.
But it makes it a
People.
job pretty early. You're driving
Yeah,
that far and
and
stuff. It's like, is it really that much fun once you drove 5 hours?
yeah, exactly. And I mean, the kids are 11, 12 years of age. I mean, a lot of those kids, they might not even like hockey at the time they're 15 or 16. And now,
And that's when
um,
it's go time.
yeah, and that's when it's go time, right? So I think just put them in minor hockey, let them enjoy the game. If they really enjoy it, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
And then you can, explore the opportunity of going to AAA or AA, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I was actually quite shocked with how like Listowel's team. It sounds like Woolwich though. Woolwich is where I played Elmira growing up. Was we were a small center that guys wouldn't really leave for AAA too soon. I
Yeah.
probably did leave a little bit too soon. I didn't need to. But then all of a sudden, everybody thinks they got to go now in Woolwich.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they got to go in under 9, under 10. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Play with your friends from your school, from your hometown. Play with them.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. And I know that was the way it was for me. We had the same hockey group, and then hockey season would end, you'd have the same baseball group, and you would play baseball together, and then there would be hockey in the winter time. So it was, you got to be with your friends all year.
Yeah. Okay. Getting sidetracked. After the baloney, you do go back to Adirondack and you put up 25 points in 69 games. And, you are established now. You're one of the captains on a pro hockey team. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it was a great honor. We had a good returning group of guys to kind of go off of. Unfortunately, that year we just had a lot of injuries, and COVID was still running a bit of a mess on
Yeah.
the pro league. So your affiliate, sometimes they would just call down and be like, "We unfortunately need 3 forwards and 2 defensemen," and you're like, well,
Yeah.
okay. And so you'd be stuck with some short lineups, and but that was the year, and
So you did get
just
an AHL call up though. And for me, if the research team's got this figured out, you're about 28 years old getting your first call up to the AHL.
yeah. I was definitely probably the oldest guy to get. I might even been the oldest guy in the locker room at the time, to be honest, too.
Right.
But but yeah, no, that was really cool. Got to go to Hartford, obviously the New York Rangers affiliate. So to put on the New York Rangers pants, gloves, helmet, all that kind of stuff was something that was really exciting, and you'll remember that for your whole life.
How much did you get to play in the game?
I played actually a regular shift.
Really? I
There
played
was no
19 games and never got a regular shift.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, we had didn't have any power play time, but I killed penalties. I was we kind of did. I was on the second D pair, which was kind of a nice shock. When I got called up, I was thinking, you're going to be riding in the sixth spot, but I was
Yeah.
fortunate enough to see my name there. So
And so you play one game and then it's like, okay, time to head back.
yeah, time to head back. They had some guys come back from New York, so
Mm-hmm. The dominoes
fortunately,
fall.
there was
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing you could do, and they could have kept you around, but you would have just been practicing and getting bag skated, so that didn't really sound that appealing at the time either. So
No. I
it was
actually
nice.
think my darkest days in hockey were in the AHL. Those were the
Oh,
days I hated hockey the most by a mile. Wasn't even
yeah,
close.
those days are definitely lonely. You could tell just the difference between the ECHL. I feel like everyone's very happy when guys get called up, and it's
and
still
and
more of
you're
a
happy
team.
for each other, and like
Yes.
guys want East Coast guys to make it, and when a guy gets called up, they're happy for them.
Yeah, exactly. Like I left Adirondack I went up and played that game and left them with only 4 defensemen, and like every guy texted me and said, congrats, couldn't be more happy for you. So that was
That's cool.
awesome. And then you get up there and you like I don't even think I really even met more than 5 people. They're just another new guy coming in.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
but
head
then
down.
for me, there was the odd guy that would be like, "Hey, you want to come out to eat for lunch, or you want to do this?" And you're like,
Yeah,
"You're you're 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 the type of guy I want to be on a team with."
yeah, exactly. But you could just tell that there's some guys there that are just waiting for their opportunity to get called up to the NHL. And if their
And if
buddy gets
someone
called
else
up,
gets called up, they ain't too thrilled about it.
yeah, it's a whole different game then.
I know. And yeah,
So
it's a lot of money at stake too, though. Those guys getting called up. It is a big
yeah,
swing from the NHL to the AHL.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a bit of a payday once you get up there. So
Yeah.
it was quite interesting to even get in the locker room, and the New York Rangers supplied like a chef, so there was like an omelet bar before the game, and post game meal, whatever you wanted. So
I didn't
that was
look at
quite
that
interesting.
roster. Is there any guys that like were established NHLers that were sent down there? No.
Not really. I think Keith Kincaid, the goalie, he was there. But he wasn't dressed that night.
And it all happened so fast, right? You like
Yeah,
you get there, you play a game, and it all happened so fast, and yeah,
yeah. So
wild.
I don't really remember anybody too crazy, but there's Zach Jones. He's a young prospect for the New York Rangers. He's gonna be a good player. He was there, and it was amazing to see how much, honestly, how much better he is than you.
Right.
You know, just the
And that
skating
was,
and
I find
the
that was
attitude.
interest for me when you say that was when I got to the AHL, there were guys where I was like, yeah, you're better than me. I can tell you're better than me right now. But then
Yeah,
the draft picks that like I was signed as a free agent compared to the draft picks the pups they were bringing up, I was like, they're not better than me. you know?
yeah. I know. There's some guys that you question some of the
But and
contracts
it's
that they get,
because a
but
scout, it's because the coach, GM has put their neck out for them 3 years ago, and then they didn't progress the way they were supposed to. But they keep
yeah,
giving them opportunity after opportunity to try and save their own ass. But
yeah,
what do I know?
exactly.
Okay, so then after that year, though, you got to be feeling pretty good. You got a call up. You did well, but you said the team didn't have as good of a season, and that's why you went looking elsewhere.
Yeah, team wasn't great. So I didn't know if I wanted to do another year in Adirondack. Obviously, it's quite cold in the winter times, and so if
There's
I was
other
going to,
places to play hockey. yeah.
yeah, exactly. If I was ever going to stay in the ECHL, I was going somewhere else regardless. But got a European agent and through a guy on the team, and he was fortunate enough to get in contact with Cardiff, and it took a little bit of time to kind of get things moving with Cardiff. But once everything worked out, I couldn't be more happy to be here.
So who are you talking to when all that's going on? Does Brody DuPont call you? Does Neil Francis
Yeah,
call you?
so Brody was the one that contacted me. He reached out, just said we've watched a bit of your clips and some games on Instat Hockey, and so we like how you play. I'd love to give you a call. And so give me a call one day and had a really good conversation with him. And he said that he was just kind of waiting on some things to kind of fall into place. And then maybe 2 weeks later, there was a deal on the table. So it's really good.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm sure you're going to have fun there. So have you got any PP time in Cardiff yet?
No, I haven't. Which is okay by me. We're
You're
just trying to,
PKing though?
yeah, penalty kill, playing a regular shift. So there's nothing you can complain about playing, 22 minutes a night. So that's more than enough time. And we just got to get things going here. We're having a bit of a slow start, kind of win a couple, lose one, win a couple, lose one. So I know that's not really the Cardiff tradition. So we're going to work on that.
That is what they say now. That isn't the Cardiff tradition. I like to hear that though, that everybody expects to win every game. I think it's funny.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of my college days because my first couple years there wasn't a game that you were going into that you didn't think we were going to run a
Run
mess with
amok.
on the team.
Run amok with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we were winning games like 13-1, 10-0. So,
really. Sounds like the under 11 Canucks. Yeah. Um, okay. So let's see. What have you been up to for fun in Cardiff on your days off?
um, well, really, at the start of the year, it's been really nice weather here. So just kind of walking around downtown, going to the city center.
Yeah.
Um,
City
we,
Center, Bay, whatever you
yeah, all those
feel like that
places.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one day we played Saturday in Guildford, and we had Sunday, Monday off. So we actually went to London, a few of us and our significant others. So that was cool to check out London and do some of the sightseeing spots there as well.
And that doing day shit like that is what brings people together, brings teams together. Even if it's not the whole team, it's like as long as the fellas are together and the significant others are together and everybody's having fun, that's by the end of the year, that's what wins games, in my opinion. right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a family in this league and in this organization. So
Mhm.
the closer everybody is, the longer you'll be in the run for the playoffs and all that kind of stuff.
It is exhausting though, with this whole the league being the big championship, isn't it?
Yeah, that's been probably the biggest adjustment is just how important the
Every
regular
game's.
season is.
Oh, it is
You
so
know, like
different than just laying an egg on a Sunday in the East Coast.
yeah, we've like I think we went up to we played Friday at home, Saturday in Glasgow, Sunday in Fife last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And you're in Fife and it's cold, it's miserable, and
Mhm. The fans aren't very nice to you either. They can shout
yeah, the
mean things
fans
at you.
are yeah, the fans are they're very, very enthusiastic about their home team. So tough place to play, and you're like just
Sweet
getting
barn
out
though,
to
eh?
it is an old school barn.
You feel like you're in
Um,
Scotland though, right? When they get out there with the
yeah, you
kilts
sure
on and the
do.
bagpipes.
Yeah. But it's weird to think that that game at 3 o'clock
Means
was,
as much
you know,
as yeah, it's like you could lose this season by 2 points, say like I did both
yeah,
years in Cardiff. And it's like, so it could have been that one game, that one Sunday afternoon that,
yeah.
it's
So
exhausting. Mhm.
yeah, and you got the Challenge Cup games, which obviously mean a lot too to the organization. You need to make sure that you go as long as you can and get those revenue gates as well. So
It's true that everybody wants to get paid. Yeah.
yeah,
Brody Reed's doing pretty good again, eh? He's got a bunch of points, and I played with him this summer in the testimonial game where
yeah,
he told me that if I scored and won the game, the last shift of the game, that he would come to the shed. He then set me up back door. I went in on the goalie and I did not score. And I don't feel comfortable asking him to come to the shed now because I don't feel like I deserve him because I didn't score, you know?
yeah. That's fair. I mean, he gave the opportunity to you. So
He did. I mean, I'm sorry, Brody. I'll do better next time, right? Well, I don't know what else I got though. I thought it was neat that there was a Listowel fella on Cardiff, and there, to be honest, there's not that many hockey guys. Like there are hockey guys all over this area, the senior A fellas, the junior C fellas. Um,
yeah,
but overseas, there's not a lot of us from this neck of the woods, and that's why I wanted to have you on, help promote you. I knew you were gonna be a stand-up dude from Listowel, Ontario, and that's why I wanted to have you on so everybody gets to know who you are. You know?
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Well, and have fun in Cardiff, and don't let that Joey Martin do anything I wouldn't do over there, okay?
Alrighty, I'll let him know.
Okay. And this has been another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Comer and Wally.